Despite a scare from the so-called Super League, the Champions League is still the most coveted prize in European club football. It features the top clubs in Europe and thus some of the best stadiums in the world. If you've already seen most of my videos already, just a heads up, I'll be going over a lot of stadiums that I've already covered, but a lot that I haven't. With that being said, here are the UEFA Champions League 2021-22 stadiums. Etihad Stadium, Manchester City. From its unusual beginnings as a stadium built for the Commonwealth Games, it has really transformed into a solid football-specific stadium. Those masts up there holding up the roof are quite distinctive, and the interior, although it's not really my colour, does look rather nice. It's made up of a double-tiered bowl as well as a third tier on all but one of the sides. Parc des Princes, Paris Saint-Germain. From the aerial view, it looks like a rather flamboyant bomb shelter with its unique concrete shell of an exterior, but the interior is even more flamboyant. It's very loud and in your face, and what better represents Paris than a depiction of that tower that they have there, Paris Tower I think it's called. Red Bull Arena, RB Leipzig. Well, the stadium itself is not so unique because another one you'll see later on is almost identical. However, not many other stadiums sit directly on top of its predecessor, fitting perfectly within the boundaries of the old Zentralstadion stands. I like how open air it seems to be on the inside, and you can actually see those grass berms through the gaps between the roof and seats. Jean Bradel Stadion, Club Bruges. Sorry, I can't pronounce it the proper way without sounding ridiculous. They're actually looking to move out of this stadium and build a brand new one, but for now this will have to do. There's not much wrong with it, but it still might be the least impressive stadium that you'll see in this video, which you wouldn't expect from Belgium's top club. But I don't want to be too harsh on the Belgians, they did invent these marvellous things, and I will be forever grateful. Thank you, Belgium.
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 Thank you,
Thank you,
Belgium.
Belgium. Why they call them French fries then if they's from Belgium? Wanda Metropolitano, Atletico Madrid. Although it doesn't look it, it is actually very similar to Etihad Stadium in that it was transformed from an athletic stadium that was built for a specific event into a world-class football stadium. I think this one is just that little bit better, however. The interior at least. You could say it's just another modern bowl, but I like that it's not consistent and symmetrical. It's got a little bit of character. Anfield, Liverpool. It's a perfect example of blending traditional design elements with creative modern design. The exterior of the main stand is just, I could look at it all day. And the great thing is they're transforming the Anfield Road stand into the same thing more or less. Not just improving the aesthetics, but increasing the capacity by a little under 10,000. But in its current state, I do quite like the one stand being much larger than the rest. It's a good look. Estádio do Dragão, Porto. This is the one I was referring to earlier when I mentioned that Red Bull Arena had a clone. Both are excellent, so it doesn't really matter. But if the Porto fans do want something over the Leipzig fans, it did open 1 year prior. Also, the name translates to Dragon Stadium, and a dragon would definitely beat a Red Bull in a fight. Because I know Red Bull gives you wings, but guess what? Dragons already have wings, and they can breathe fire. It's not even up for discussion. Fantastic stadium though. San Siro, AC Milan. Probably the most iconic stadium in the country as well as being the biggest. Considering the sheer amount of bare concrete that is on show, the exterior still looks quite good and very imposing. The interior is a bit of an odd mix of colours, but I suppose that's better than being monochromatic. I also like how they've left one side without a third tier of seating, leaving this huge gap between the seats and the roof. It's so big that there is actually a small roof under the big roof. Estádio José Alvalade, Sporting. Wow, this is loud. I suppose Lisbon is quite a colourful city, so if you want to stand out, you really have to add more than a splash of colour, and they've done just that. but the interior is even more colourful. There seems to be more colours than there are seats. Although green and yellow, being the colours on the club's crest, are the most prevalent. Even the support beams for the roof are green and yellow. I love it. Signal Iduna Park, Borussia Dortmund. From a stadium full of colour to a stadium known for one colour, yellow. Not just those huge supporting structures up there on the roof, but the famous yellow wall. A huge terrace that has a larger capacity than some stadiums on this list. It isn't actually yellow, the fans make it yellow. But that's actually converted into seating during Champions League matches. Either way, the atmosphere is electric. Johan Cruyff Arena, Ajax. The first thing I notice when I see this stadium is that it's very tall. If you were to stand on top of the roof, you could probably see every city in the Netherlands. That's actually only a slight exaggeration. It certainly has a very interesting exterior. There's a lot going on, including a giant depiction of the legend that the stadium's named after. On the inside, it's a little more clean, simple and elegant. Looking up, I love that huge translucent roof. As long as they're kept clean, they always look better. Vodafone Park, Beşiktaş. Not that it matters, but just in case you were wondering, Beşiktaş is on the European side of Istanbul. But only just. It's located right at the edge of the Bosphorus Strait, which divides Europe and Asia. It would have been great if they left that side without any seats, like this stadium in Brazil, just so spectators get a view of the water. But I suppose they had to make the most of the land they had available. Also, the interior itself looks quite spectacular. Stadio Giuseppe Meazza, Inter Milan. See, Inter fans like to call the stadium by its official name because Giuseppe Meazza played mostly for their club. However, he did actually play for AC Milan for a short while later on, but they still prefer to call it San Siro. Oh, and I'll just add how much I like that roof. Whether looking at it from above or below, it's quite impressive. Estadio Santiago Bernabeu, Real Madrid. You may have heard that this iconic ground is being transformed from this to this, but it's looking more like this at the minute. Yes, they'll actually be playing in a stadium that's not yet finished, and it won't be completed until after this season's Champions League has ended. Even in this state, it's a pretty good stadium. NSC Olimpijski, Shakhtar Donetsk. This is a bit of an unfortunate situation. As you may already know, the club are unable to play at their actual stadium, in the disputed territory of Donetsk. But it's one of my favourite stadiums in Europe. Such a shame. So yeah, they've been ground sharing with Dynamo Kiev. Sheriff Stadium, Sheriff Tiraspol. This one's rather obscure. It's a team from Moldova, although the area claims to be an independent nation called Transnistria. They were the first Moldovan club ever to qualify to the Champions League group stage, and certainly the first Transnistrian club. Yes, I can hear you gasp, but Transnistria, despite the many stars that have come from there, haven't actually had a club reach this level yet. The interesting thing about the stadium is that there's a slightly smaller version of it right next door. It's part of a large sports complex presumably known as the Sheriff's Department. Allianz Arena, Bayern Munich. This stadium is completely different from any other stadium in Germany. In fact, it was the first stadium in the world that could be white by day and whatever you like by night. I'd imagine when it opened back in 2005, it would have been the most technologically advanced stadium in the world, but I could be wrong. Either way, it's still very impressive today, and it's a fitting home for Germany's winningest club. Camp Nou, Barcelona. It's a bit of a misleading name. It means new field, but man had yet to walk on the moon when it opened. If that's new, then my narration is captivating and full of energy. To be fair, they did have plans to fully renovate the stadium, but alas, that was postponed due to the pandemic. For now, it's still the biggest stadium in Europe, and it's still awe-inspiring to look at. More so the interior than the exterior. with its asymmetrical triple-tiered bowl seating layout that's unlike any other football stadium. Estádio da Luz, Benfica. It's Lisbon's second appearance in this video, and this one's almost as visually striking as their crosstown counterparts, particularly those red arches that support the roof. If you're an Arsenal supporter, the interior might look familiar. It too has 3 tiers of red seating plus a continuous section of premium suites in between, and that wavy top tier. Don't tell Arsenal fans this, but I do slightly prefer this one. But to cheer the Arsenal fans up, I do believe you will win the league. Not this season, but the next. I am of course referring to the championship. Sorry, I went off topic there. NSC Olimpijski, Dynamo Kiev. I don't want to disrespect the Ukrainian champs, but the club name does sound like something you might find in the freezer aisle. Dynamo Kiev, ready in 3 minutes, only 30 hryvnia, very tasty. Nah, but Kiev's are good. It was built just after the Soviet Union was formed, and looked nothing like this back then. But one thing hasn't changed. There is still a running track. The only stadium in the Champions League with a running track, although it's usually covered up. I like those mosaic seats though. Estádio de la Cerâmica, Villarreal. Not often does a stadium's naming rights sponsor fit so perfectly. It's sponsored by the local ceramics industry, and the stadium's facade is covered with these yellow tiles, manufactured by the sponsors. Another interesting feature is this stand that is much taller than the rest. You get a pretty decent view from up there, of not just the field, but you can see for miles. Although as you can see, those seats aren't so popular. Old Trafford, Manchester United. Some people love it, some people hate it, but everybody respects its history. It doesn't quite have the flashiness of some of the London stadiums, but it certainly has its own unique character. The slanting roofs being perhaps my favourite thing. There's something about the way it makes the seating up top disappear into the abyss. Oh, and apparently it has a bit of a rodent infestation, which begs the question, how expensive are the pest exterminators in Manchester if you can afford to pay Ronaldo and not them? Gerwas Stadium? I still don't know how to say that. It's the home of Atalanta. It's a bit of a mismatch of old and new at the moment, as the stadium's partway through a total renovation that will basically turn it into a brand new stadium, for all intents and purposes. So in this state it does look a little strange, but that's no bad thing. And I think it'll look pretty special once completed. Stadium Wankdorf, Young Boys. Why did the team that plays at Wankdorf have to be called Young Boys? I feel like the police will barge into my house at any minute. I kinda prefer its former name Stade de Suisse, but it was built on the site of the old Wankdorf Stadion, so it's paying tribute to its past. From the bird's eye view, the stadium looks like a picture frame, although I've never really seen a picture frame with solar panels. On the inside, the symmetry is continued with 2 tiers of seating. No frills, just quality. It's very Swiss in that respect. Stade Pierre-Mauroy, Lille. It has a very sleek, partially see-through exterior, as well as a retractable roof. The only football stadium in France to have one. Perhaps that's why it's used for tennis as well. It's pretty cool how half of the field can lift itself up over the other half. The interior matches the exterior, a muted grey colour scheme that looks just as good. It's a great all-round stadium. Estadio Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan, Sevilla. We're back on the Iberian Peninsula where they don't shy away from the vibrant colours. I like that. You could say that it's like a smaller Camp Nou, but that wouldn't be totally accurate. The exterior is a little bit more interesting, it's done up in the team's colours and includes this beautiful mosaic. Also, the seating bowl is perfectly symmetrical, so yeah, it's not that similar. Red Bull Arena, Red Bull Salzburg. We've seen a Red Bull Arena already, but this one actually resembles Stadium Wankdorf. Once again, picture frame and a 2-tiered seating bowl. Well, except for the western end that has skyboxes instead of an upper deck. I'll give it bonus points for the translucent roof. Like I said, it just always makes the stadium look that little bit better. Volkswagen Arena, Wolfsburg. It's actually half owned by the Volkswagen Group, who are headquartered in Wolfsburg, and the team is fully owned by them. So if you rock up in a BMW, you better believe nothing will happen. It's a free country. There are a few stadiums like this in the world, but there's just something about the way the roof canopy extends outside the stadium that just looks so elegant, as does the plentiful use of glass on the exterior. The interior is quite standard by comparison, but more than adequate. Stamford Bridge, Chelsea. The reigning champs have a funny looking stadium with those attached buildings to the south. But I'm fairly sure funny looking is a compliment. At least I hope so. But the interior is what matters most, and it does look rather nice. I like the triple tiered east stand that has been around since the 70s, and the west stand is basically just a modern version of it. Lovely ground. Allianz Stadium, Juventus. I've said it before, but the A-frames that are supporting the roof make the world of difference to this stadium's appearance. If they weren't there, well, the roof would collapse, but if they built an inconspicuous cantilever roof instead, the exterior would be far less interesting. On the inside, it's also very easy on the eye. It's somewhat similar to Vodafone Arena that we saw earlier. Gazprom Arena, Zenit St. Petersburg. Most things that land in Russia from outer space cause a large explosion and form a giant crater. But I do believe that this is a flying saucer disguised as a stadium. I could be wrong, but just look at it. It has some space-age technology as well, a retractable roof as well as a retractable field. Not many stadiums in the world can boast both those features. Oh, and it will be hosting the final. Elida Stadium, Malmö. This one reminds me of a less space-age form of transport. A car. Okay, just this section which looks like the rear of a DeLorean. Doesn't it? Anyway, not important. I do like that dark exterior, but perhaps the most unique aspect of the stadium is that the official name of it is simply Stadion, which means stadium, as you may have guessed. I can't imagine a stadium just being called Stadium. But less is more, I guess. And those were the UEFA Champions League stadiums for 2021-22. If you enjoyed the video, then please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.